Hi everyone, this is the Normal House, and this is my intercultural communications presentation. So first, we'll define what is intercultural communications according to our text, Intercultural Communication by Curlo. Then we will be talking about symbols and how they relate and connect to intercultural communications. We will get into a cultural symbol. We'll discuss the historical meaning of it. We'll give you some communications connections to the symbol, and we'll wrap up with practical applications and tips for the symbol. So, first, let's get started with defining intercultural communications. So, intercultural communication is communication between and among those from different cultures. So when you think about that, you may think that you have to travel outside of the United States to engage in intercultural communications, but actually that's not the case. We engage in intercultural communications daily. We do that in school as students. We do it in the workplace as employees. This can take place at churches, online, because social media is everywhere and everyone almost participates in that. And intercultural communications can take place within your own family. So keep in mind, intercultural communications is interacting with people from a culture that's different from your own. And again, like I said, that is defined in our intercultural communications text. And we're going to talk about symbols and how they relate and connect to intercultural communications. So, first, the purpose of symbols. Symbols serve two purposes, in intercultural communication. And the first is to allow a culture to be represented through verbal and nonverbal communications. And the second is to allow a culture to be created or constructed through nonverbal and verbal communication. So there is, a difference in the purpose of the symbol as it relates to intercultural communications. So the symbol that we're going to be talking about today is going to be the clenched fist or raised fist symbol. And here's a photo of that. And of course, when you see this, I think everyone in the United States and around the world is familiar with this. But what we're going to do is go ahead and give you some historical meanings and a timeline of the clenched fist, raised fist, and how it came into our society and how it became a symbol around the world and the actual meaning of it. But before we jump into that, I actually want to share with you a story that I found in an article by Harold Dolofino. And this was a song that was written by a French socialist, Eugene Potier, and this was back in 1871. Now, he was a prisoner after the Paris Commune. So, listen to the song that I'm going to read to you, the first lyrics or stanza of the song. And as I'm reading this, try to connect how this would be related to the clenched fist or raised fist symbol. So it goes, ye workers from your slumbers, arise ye prisoners of want, for reason and revolt now thunders, and at last the age of cant. Away with all your superstitions, masses arise, arise. We'll change henceforth the old traditions, and spurn the dust to win the prize. So comrades, come rally, and the last fight let us face. The International unites the human race. So when I heard that, I actually, made the immediate connection of the clenched fist. Because when you think of the historical meaning, it actually makes sense. So let's jump into the historical meaning and connect that with that song. So first, the historical meaning of the clenched fist or the raised fist is a symbol of solidarity and support. And it is also used as a salute to express unity, strength, defiance, or resistance. So think about that song being sung by prisoners, and you can make that, intercultural communications connection to allow a culture to be created or constructed. Second, the historical meaning, the raised fist serves as a symbol of struggle of the oppressed, fighting back against the oppressors, arm raised and clench. I'm sorry, and I think this is the one that we are most familiar with as far as its historical meaning. Now, the clenched fist stays the same no matter the cause. It's always symbolizing the struggle of the people for the people. Keep that in mind. It always symbolizes the struggle of the people for the people. Now, ironically, despite how many times the clenched fist symbol has been used for various political purposes, the clenched fist was one of those sole symbols that did not adhere to any party or to any country. And that information was found in an article by Tellers Untold. So the clenched fist symbol never had anything to do with any political issues. And it never adhered to any party, Republican or Democrat. And it was never, to any country. So this is a cultural symbol. And from there, we're going to start with the timeline of that cultural symbol. So the very first was an illustration in a cartoon of a clenched raised fist. And that was done by Ralph Chaplin. And it was used in a cartoonist with the caption under the hand that will rule. And that was back in 1917. So then we moved on over to 1848 and we find the historical timeline where it was used as by Henri Demure, and this was in the Revolution of 1848 to overthrow the king. And this is a picture of the hand being raised and the fist clenched in that. And like I said, that was 1848. Then we move on over to 1936, which is the Spanish Civil War, and it captured a picture of children being ready to evacuate or getting ready to be evacuated with the raised fist and raised and clenched fist symbol. And then when it came into the United States, our Western culture, it was by Frank Ciceroca, who was an artist and an activist. And he created a picture of the raised fist, clenched fist symbol for the students' nonviolent coordinating committee. And the students used this version for a democratic society. And of course, it became a part of our Black Power movement. And that's when it also became adopted as part of the Black Panther movement. So keep in mind, it was a symbol of struggle of the oppressed fighting back against the oppressors, arm raised and fists clenched. So then we want to get into the clenched fist used by other groups. So there's been some other groups that use it. It was the feminist movement back in 1968 during the Miss America protests. Then it was used by the Pride March activists, and this was used on their flag to represent the human rainbow, but they adopted the clenched fist symbol also, excuse me. And the most recent, of course, was the Black Lives Matter protests. Now, unfortunately, white supremacists have also abused the clenched fist. Back in the 1980s, they substituted the clenched fist or raised fist with a white fist, and they use it to claim that the symbol represented white power or white pride. And also, the Aryan fist or white power fist has been adopted by white supremacist groups. And that was found in ADL Fighting Hate for the Good. So that is the history and timeline and historical meaning of the clenched fist, and how it connects with communications is it's like a cultural construction, group identity created through the consistent and repetitive communications of symbols and communication practices, and the symbol as a cultural representation. So it's an expressive system in the lifeblood of a culture composed of three types of communication practices that are predominantly active in social scenes. So there are specific acts, events, and styles of social interaction. So that means the Black Lives Matter movement saying that we're fighting back against police brutality of Black Americans. And as far as practical applications and tips, we have a photo of some West Point cadets with their arms raised, clenched fists, and it caused an investigation. So you have to be mindful how you use it, depending on what position you hold in the United States, and be careful not to use it to symbolize something that it does not mean. And that concludes the end of this presentation. Thank you.